Hey guys, how are you feeling tonight? So I'm back with the second video today. Well, before we get started, let me just ask you, who according to you is a warrior? What is the definition of a warrior according to you? Well, according to me, a warrior is someone who conquers his or her own self. But how can a person conquer his or her own self? Does that mean there are two of us? Yes, there are two of us, our true self and our false self or our conditioned mind. And this is the topic for today's video. So who is our true self? Our true self is who we came in this world as. And what is our false self? Our false self is someone that we learn to be. So when a baby is born on this earth, he or she is born as an empty cup. He's where the baby is very peaceful, accepting, non-judgmental, happy, and all of that. And then the learning starts. Don't do this, don't do that, don't sit here, don't go there, you will fall, you will get hurt. And the baby starts recording all of this information and starts filling up that cup. So when we are born as babies and when we feel hungry, we try to make some sound, but no one hears. Again, we try to make a higher sound. We make some body movements. No one listens. And then we start crying loudly. And that's when the magic happens. And we get all the attention that we had been probably looking for. People come running to us. They pick us up. We are getting pampered. They feed us. And we start storing all this information in the operations manual of our life so that our conditioned mind can refer to us later in the future. So tell me something, have you seen people who are still using this strategy, though they might be say 5 or 6 feet tall and maybe 30-40 years of age? Yeah, so we all know such people, right? Yeah, so now our operations manual of life becomes a blueprint for us to decide how do we think, how do we behave, and how do we survive in this world. And together all of this gets to be called as our personality and our ego self or our conditioned mind. Have you heard people saying that this is my personality? Yeah. So let me tell you, that is not true. This is not your personality. This is just the way you have learned to be in order to survive in this world based on the people who have domesticated you. But this is not your true self. So there are 4 things that you need to remember. One is that this way of being was primarily created by you in order to survive and not to thrive. Secondly, this way of being is based on the conclusions and assumptions of a very, very young child. Third, our environment, our relatives, our teachers, our friends, media, etc., everything, these people also condition us on the basis of the do's and don'ts that they tell us or show us during our phases of growth. And the 4th and the very important point is that this programming and the personality you've created because of this is not the real you. It is just the information that you have gathered as a child, and this information has now got stored onto a tape which now starts playing automatically, habitually, and unconsciously. And you know of this tape as the little voice in your head, and you think that it is you who's talking, whereas it is not you who's talking. It is this little voice, this recording of all of this which is speaking, and you thought it was you. So you should understand that you are not the tape. You are the tape recorder. You are not the content in the glass. You are the glass which is holding that content. And it is very important for you to realize that. You should understand that you are not the mind. The mind is a part of you. You are much bigger and better than your mind. So you are the vessel which is holding all of that which is happening in your mind. The key for your true power and freedom is to be able to disidentify with this small voice or the mind inside your body, and to be able to observe it from a distance so that you get to know what it is doing. When you realize that you are not the mind, you have a true choice to make in the present moment. So you can, rather than running on an automatic mode, so you can then make a decision whether you want to do something that the mind is telling you or the little voice is telling you to do or not. and this is known as consciousness. So let me share a small story with you. So there's this kingdom where the king of the kingdom is really a nice, generous person, and he's really liked by the population of the kingdom. So people really love him, he's very friendly with everyone, people come to meet him, and everything is very, very hunky-dory in the kingdom. Now a tragedy happens, and one of the most common water bodies, drinking water bodies in the kingdom, gets polluted. So the people who are drinking water from that water body all start behaving in a strange manner and become very, very weird. So gradually what happens is the entire population of the kingdom drinks water and gets affected by it and starts behaving in a weird manner. It's just the king who is not consuming water from that common water body, because he has a separate stream of water in his palace. So what happens is the people in the kingdom then starts looking at the king and start talking things about him, saying that he started behaving very strange, he's become very greedy, he's become very selfish, and so people stop going and meeting the king. Now the king gets very, very lonely and deprived. So one day he decides to go to the kingdom and meet the people himself. So when he steps out of his palace and he walks down and tries to meet people around, during the process, because it's a very hot day, he feels very thirsty, and then he goes to the common water body and drinks water from that water body. Now what happens? That night there's a huge celebration in the kingdom. Why? Because the people are very happy that finally their beloved king has come back to them. So even though the way we are living is normal, it does not mean that that is natural and that is our real self. It's just that we are living in that way and we are good at it, because this is the challenge with everyone who's staying there. And why does no one realize that? It is because we are all like those fish in water. When a fish is inside water, it does not know. It is only when the fish is taken out of the water, it realizes that it was inside water. So it is very important for us to realize this and then separate ourselves and disidentify ourselves from this little voice and the conditioned mind of ours, so as to be able to see and observe how it is functioning and what is it doing. Now, we all know that our brain is made up of 3 parts, and the lowermost part of the brain is called medulla oblongata. It lies at the base of the skull and just above the spinal cord. Now, the primary function of medulla oblongata is survival. It just knows either to fight or to flight. Its job is to actually separate out the information and then direct the flow of this information to the rest of the brain. Now, in our filter of the world, we have an information director who is primarily based in survival and hence in fear. So that is why most of the times in our lives, we live in fear. Though the gravity of this fear might be varying and there's a whole range to it, but most of our life we live in some or the other kind of fear. And the strange part is that we are looking out to live our life happily through this. So the tool that we are actually using to live our life happily is basically a wrong tool. The issue here is, as Einstein pointed out, you cannot solve a problem with the same mind that has created it. Yeah. So what is the solution? Well, there are 2 ways. Either you recondition the mind and slowly record over the old tape with more new, supportive and empowering messages, or else you totally bypass the entire fear-based and ego-based system altogether and learn to live your life from your true or higher self. So what does this mean? This simply means that, whenever you decide to do something which you feel is for your betterment or for you to be able to lead a life in higher self-awareness, then, so supposing you decide to take up meditation in order to lead a more peaceful life and a more satisfying life. So you decide you will get up early in the morning and then meditate. Now the next day you fix up an alarm for early morning the next day. The alarm rings, you get up, and as soon as you are about to get out of the bed, there's a voice in your head which starts speaking. I cannot get up now. I am so tired. I didn't even sleep properly the last night. If I wake up so early today, my entire day will be ruined. I will not be able to do my work productively. I will not feel energized. I can't do this today. I will do it tomorrow. So the moment you realize this is happening, you just listen to it for a second and then you say, thank you for sharing. Now please keep quiet. And then you get on to do whatever you've decided to do. So similarly, for all the things that you want to do which are actually good for you and productive for you, like you want to go on a diet and you want to avoid sugar, and the moment you try to do that and you see some sweet dish in front of you, the inner voice starts chattering. Let us have this today. It's been so long I've not had it. I don't feel the energy. I need some carbohydrates. You realize what is happening. You say, stop. Thank you for sharing. Now please keep quiet. You want to take up a course, something for your self-development, your personal development. Again, the voice starts, you should not be doing this. This money will go waste. This is very expensive. You don't even know whether this will be worth the money spent. Plus, you don't have time. I cannot be doing this. This will just be a waste of... You realize that. You say, okay, thanks for sharing. Please stop. You go ahead and then you do what you want to do. So if you keep doing this repetitively, gradually your inner voice will start to fade out and will stop preventing you from taking actions that you actually should be taking for your betterment. And why is all this happening? Because as I told you, the medulla oblongata acts as a guard for the body. So it wants to protect the body from any damage done. And for it, anything which is out of your comfort zone, which is an unknown territory, is a danger. And that's why it wants to protect the body from going there. So let's follow this method. You acknowledge what the voice is saying. You say, okay, thanks for sharing. Now stop. You put a stop to it. When you do this on a day-to-day basis repeatedly, gradually you will be able to overcome this voice of yours and will be able to do whatever you want to do for your betterment. So this is all for tonight. I hope you found it useful. Do let me know about your opinion for the same, and I'll see you in the next video. So bye-bye.